The process of understanding is very simple. The process is, as I explained last time, I explained more in detail. We are created out of the rays within the center of the universe. In interaction and reduction in strength and division by the strength in certain strength fields, in collection of the totality of the expansion of the universe, some energies, some dynamic fields have come together. Over billions of years, these fields lead to the creation of what we call the sun. Where the plasma gathers together. The same process repeats again because the sun is the same as the energy center of the universe. Now, the heavier, the larger amount of the energy which is collected in this span of the universe, the sun that irradiates out, does the same thing again. Radiates its fields out, and in interaction with the itself, with the fields of itself, leads to creation of planet. In that process of the creation of planet, the same process happens again. In the interaction of the fields of the earth with its environment and cooling and exchange with the strength of the other things in the environment of the space of the solar system, leads to creation of man, cell, matter state. And that itself, in coming together and slowing down in certain ways, as we call, leads to another sun. We call the soul of the man. This is the truth about the life and creation of the man. But if the soul of the man can understand and absorb and be correct with his conduct, he can become the strength of the fields and carry the strength of the field of the planet which came to his creation. And if the soul can understand with the same process, can interact, can be correct, can absorb with itself the totality of the strength of what it needs, he shall become the sun. And then the same soul has the energy that it can absorb within the solar system, within the galaxy, shall become the center of the universe. Earth, we call it the rain, come from and goes back to. In the solar system, we call it planetary system, we come from the rays, we become the planet, and we go back to the mother. The same thing happens with the galaxies, with the solar systems, which they get absorbed back in and they chewed up back into the universe. The life, the process of existence in the universe is the same. It doesn't matter on what exchange and what extent. So, what is the man fighting for? Why do we fight for something which has come from the point of the creation, and in the process it goes back to the creation? The soul of the man, as the energy of the earth, gives the face of the man, the face of the earth, and that process is the same for the soul of the man. Our soul, in reduction in strength, in interaction with the emotion of the field of the environment, leads to manifestation of the existence of the man. But once it's completed, does it need the face? Or can it be and becomes free from it, what we call the soul of the man, to be free and detached from its existence? Our soul is part of the process of the creation. The key to one question for man shall be in the future to be answered. As we saw the sun became the earth, and as we saw the earth became man's soul, what will be the destiny of the soul of the man now becomes free at the point of departure from physicality? Would it become the sun for creation of another life, or many lives, or correction of lives? This shall be, and this is how it happens. When you create a soul which is not correct, which is misconduct by itself cannot give, you lead to the creation of this next cycle of creation, which has started the wrong way, the wrong strength. This is one thing the man has never understood. You become the creator of another universe, another cycle. And this is what you have to judge within the structure of the soul of the man. What would I like that cycle to be? In the physical life, we create children. In the dimension of the life of the soul of the man, what that soul will create. If man has thought up to now, that's it, my end, my point, when I die is finished, there's as much fallacy that when the sun is destroyed in any shape or form, there shall be nothing left. But we know the part of the sun becomes part of the galaxy and becomes part of new life. So shall be the soul of the man. The judgment of the man has to be according to what he sees the future his soul can conduct to be. The day of judgment is for the man, not in front of the Creator. That what my soul judges to be and what shall create. Man never understood and shall never understand till can solve this dilemma within itself. The reality is very, very, very real. And that is, as we've seen, the energy of the galaxy become the sun, the energy of the sun has become the earth, and the energy of the earth has become the soul of the man. So shall be the soul of the man, which is the energy itself, another cycle of life. How can you change when you don't understand? How can you change the process of understanding if you do not understand the process of the creation? Do we need to extend the understanding of the man, that what is the future he brings? We care about our children, what education they get, what they wear, how happy they'll be, where they sleep. Now the man has to be careful and consider, what life shall my soul create? Because those are the children of your soul. As we see, the rays of the sun has become a planet and 7 billion children of it. 7 billion unlimited, which is growing. So the soul of the man will go through the same process. How many billions and subdivisions and sub-matter state of the physicality of the man your soul shall create? Would it be the soul of wars and conflict and forever killing? Or would it be the soul of this, let's say, solar system, which is peaceful? This is the truth and the reality about the soul of the man. First of all, as I said many times recently, we never understood that the soul of the man is within the structure of the man. And now that we understood, we understand on departure from the physicality of the man, the same process will carry on as it did for a star, a planet, and the soul of the man becomes another energy source, a higher order, which itself leads to the creation. It becomes the star, it becomes the center of the new cycle of creation. This is what the human race has to understand. The cycle actually starts from the point of death and not finishes at the point of death. In so many ways, if one understands, is as the dusts, specks of dust came together to make the earth in the solar system, so has the specks of the atoms has come to be the creator of the man. And the essence of the creation of the specks of dust on the solar system has led to the creation of the man. So shall be the fields from the soul of the man, which lead to creation of another cycle of life. What kind of life man would like to have, to be created by his soul? This is the day of judgment. This is what man never understood. Now you have to understand. You have no choice. Up to today you were not aware of it. From today you are aware of it. You are responsible for it. Your conduct has to be to elevate your soul. That in elevating the soul, what you become the creator of stands correct in the conduct of the citizens. We don't give fairy tale. This is the truth about it. As you've seen, the process does not stop with one sun. The cycle carries on. It's very interesting in how humanity now knows in fact to handle the fact. It'll take decades for man to understand, and then you understand those who become the tools of war, the tools of conflict. They have nothing to start with. They have to become the dust in the solar system of the others till the day they learn more, as they cannot create a new cycle through their own soul. This is the elevation of the soul of the man. To be part of the creation of a beautiful life for the next cycle. When you don't have it, you have to become another cell in the body of the structure of the bigger, for you to be just there that you can run when you could have been the soul of the man. They say, do not create fear. I give you the point of love for creation. If you cared about your children on this planet to have the best, your true children come out of your own soul in the coming time. How would you like to educate them? How would you like to be when you are in conflict with yourself and the cause of so much mayhem? This is the truth, and the man will take a long time to understand, as now that we understand the soul of the man is an operator for the creation of the future extent of the life of the man. Whatever is gathered by the soul at the end becomes his point of reference of his own creation, of his own dimension. But the strangest thing is, what he creates from the soul shall become the creator of the other souls. This is the beauty about the creation, and one understands it, understands no limitation.
Welcome everyone to the 378th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, April 29th, 2021. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the Public Teachings in English. My name is Rick Kremd. I'll be a host today, and we are hosting Mr. Mehran Keshe, as usual, in these weekly workshops. And I believe he's ready to go to present today's workshop. Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Good morning, good day to you, as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of Knowledge Seekers, Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. Today's teaching is a follow-up of the past 2-3 weeks, and we carry on the same way. We proceed further to understand more about the interaction between the fields of the soul of the man and the fields of the soul of physicality of the man, and the response to and from these positions. In the past 2-3 weeks, we start showing the strength and the manifestation of the fields of the soul of the man in interaction with the fields of the soul of physicality, which leads to creation of what we call the brain of the man. When we know a body has taken a shape and the body is mature both in soul and soul of physicality, is when we see the blood circulation, which starts in the early weeks of the life by circulating the emotion of every cell in the physical dimension, it starts leading to the creation of the brain of the man, where the interaction of the fields of the soul and the interaction of the field of soul of physicality leads to the creation of the physical structure of the brain. There has been a discussion for so many years by the knowledgeable people and the scientists and theologists, when does actually the soul takes over the body? When does it actually operate? Up to now, the soul was created at the point of when the fields of the cells of the body of the man, which came from the sperm and the egg, lead to the creation of the soul of physicality, which is the first heartbeat. And then comes the first cells and structure of the brain of the man. So in a way, we can say the physical operation of the body starts when the brain is formed. When the soul of the combination of the, what we call the sperm and the egg, which is the original soul of the creation of the life, in creating its own dimension of physicality and the first heartbeat, which creates the first cage of the magnetic field to contain the interaction between the soul of physicality and the soul of the man, and the brain is formed, then the life is true. This is the time when the soul has taken shape and works between the soul of physicality and the soul of the man. Then this closes the discussion between the scientists and the theologists that when actually life is alive, when we respect life. Up to now, when the soul was created in the interaction between the soul of the physicality of the man and the soul of the man, that brain created, now we call life, has been a tradition on this planet. From now on, we teach and we show how you use and create a full soul that it exists on itself. And then because that soul is pure and perfect, then it decides and creates the direction and dimension of the physicality. This is how the change of time has come, where now the soul of the man is fully created in advance of the what we call physical life. This way, physical life cannot go wrong anymore. Man will not commit a crime. Man will move into the next step, that with a perfect soul in operation, the physicality will take a new shape and life. In a way, we change the situation and the condition of the birth from now on due to and for the fact that there shall be no more crime. There will be no more what we call breaks, no more failures in the operation of the physical life. In this process, we will see the first cycle of lives starting on this planet will go through this process, where there will be no hunger because the soul will feed the physicality. These are not theory anymore. These are the structures that we show, what we have set up, and we will see the manifestation. This is where the soul of the man could not support, and he had to rely on the soul of physicality to feed it, to contain it, that when he matured, it could leave, or when he had the position of the time of the field strength to expand beyond the physicality. For the first time, the soul of the man is in control from the point before the inception of the creation of the physical dimension. In the future time, we explain how and the way it's done. So it comes to the fact that how come that the soul of the man, in creating the hard condition to be separate life on its own, due to the understanding of the principle that body of the man is made of ganses, is made of the plasmas, and the plasmas operate only through the heartbeat. If you cannot create a heartbeat within the plasma of the body of the man or the soul, this is not a life, this is not a soul, this is not a condition of living without depending. So when you come to the point that the soul of the man, which itself has a heartbeat, is come from the creation of two separate cells from the egg and the sperm, has its own heartbeat that it takes over. When it creates the dimension of the creation of the physicality with the environment of the womb of the mother, then when that entity gets its first heartbeat is the time when the soul of physicality starts growing. In a way, the total cells within the body start pumping. In the electric motors, we need an electric current to start a motor. In the plasma world, we need the heartbeat. This is why now the scientists tell us that even the earth has a heartbeat. The sun has a heartbeat. Our universe has a heartbeat, because without the heartbeat, plasma and magnetic fields cannot release their fields. They cannot expand. They cannot divide. They cannot mutate. This is why the man has a heartbeat. Pulsation is the essence to the creation of the plasma and life of plasma. As heartbeat pumps, creates variation in the dynamic strength of the fields, and in that variation creates the division, interaction, and in that process, creation of new dimension, as the variation in the strength of the field of the pulse decides the dimension of physicality or the dimension of the life of the entity. As I said, in the world of the plasma, nuclear plasma physics, we don't look for frequency. We don't look for anything else except the pulsation. This is why man dies when the heart dies, when there is no pulses to circulate. This is why man goes through the process of aging, because as the heart gets weaker, it creates a different magnetic field, which interaction with the cell of the body, it's a lower strength to the point that it cannot. If the mankind could keep the heartbeat of the man at the rate of the birth, man stays young forever. This is why they tell us all the time to exercise. They tell us why to do more of everything else, that we keep active. This is why we see most of the people who live an active life live a very near, close, long life, because the heartbeat stays there. The biggest problem for the physicians of the future is to be able to regenerate the heart tissues that stay young. And then man will never die in a dimension of physicality most of the time, unless there is an accident or something through the evolution. Then mankind, maybe for the first time, finds one of the keys to everlasting life is finding the processes that the physical heart keeps the strength of the magnetic field of the blood circulation the same as the point of the birth. Maybe at the age of 18, which is the maximum, we generate the best. In so many ways, now we understand more. And then in that process, can I have the sharing of the screen, please, Rick? Thank you. In this process, we come to understand when you have the soul of the man as the sun in the center, and in radiating and interacting with 2 or 3 the gravitational magnetic fields, leads to the creation of the brain with the circulation of the blood, and in that process to the dimension of the physicality of the man, where man creates a skeleton of bones to contain and live, and the interaction between the fields of the soul of the man and the soul of physicality leads to creation of what we call the brain of the man. In a way, for the first time, we understand the full cycle of creation. We understand the full process, how we are created and how we can interact. As I said before, when it comes to dimension of the soul of the man, the bone structure, it sits outside. When it comes to the dimension of the soul of physicality, the bone structure sits inside. Because This is the way the magnetic fields of the physicality dictates the structure. And then what the compromise comes, the soul of the man in conjunction with the physicality creates what we call the skin of the man, where the skin is part of the same brain and with it condition of existence. But when we speak to the physicians, they tell us the cell of the lung of the man is made from the same structure, connected to the same structure, which this brings a new dimension in science of what we call physiology of the man, which we come to it later on. But touching it, we can explain that as the soul of the physicality and the physical part of the gravitational magnetic field of the earth created the physicality of the man, which is from the solid part, then the air part, the atmospheric part, has its own control. And with that control, it has created the lung in a connection with the brain of the man. That in that process, the lung, up to now we thought is a process of just breathing, is the central control for connection of the soul with the gaseous part of the life. This is the beauty of the creation, where the life of the man depends on the gaseous and the earth and the liquid. And for each one, the body, the soul of the man, in interaction with each other, have brought its own process and its own control. That in conjunction with the soul, they dictate life. You take the blood from the man, man will die. You block the oxygen or circulation of the blood from the man, man will die. You stop the man to breathe, man will die. Because even though we are combination of the creation of the physicality of the interaction of the soul of the man, but each part in interaction with the soul has created its own operational control. And all in collection and connection create the heartbeat in the center that all interact together. The physical part depends on the heart of the beat. The lung depends on the heartbeat. The process of circulation of the liquid depends on heart. Now we understand why even the heart of the man is positioned where it's positioned. Because the heartbeat creates a vibration even in the lung. That long heartbeat allows the interaction of the fields of it with the soul. This is why in the past teachings, for the first time you understand, we explain how by breathing you can control the strength of the fields of the soul of it. Because it's one of the three controlling systems, is one of the three partners which have in a way engaged the soul of it. If one understands this, then in the coming time, we understand how we can control life in the depth of the universe. What happened when we go to a planet when there is no oxygen? How do we change the process of the conversion and interaction with non-dimension? What happened when we land in an environment which is just a plasma and the soul of the man? Then the physicality of the man to manifest itself will become in the interaction between the soul of the man and the structure of the plasma fields of the environment. Will not have the lung, will not have the blood circulation we have, but it'll be a pure interaction between the soul of the man and the soul of the physicality or the dimension of the physical fields of the plasma of the environment, and then we'll have a plasmatic life. We will not manifest ourselves in the physical of 2 arms, 2 legs. Then we have a different dimension of the control and what we call interactions. We see these kind of lives in the upper atmosphere of the Earth, as it's been reported by NASA. As we've seen, space cameras have taken the shape. where the soul sits and the interaction with the field of only the gaseous part. The upper levels only has one dimension. We don't see inertial field of the matter state to see a physical body of the bone in them. We've seen this video many times in the teaching of the Keshe Foundation, where NASA reports in their videos seeing fields moving in a manner, because when you have the soul of the man interacting with the field strength of the environment, it has life, it dictates its position, it moves. Now we can, for the first time, see at the upper level of us, in the upper atmosphere of this planet, we have a different life we didn't know. We have the fish in the seas, and we have a life above us that, as is too far from the inertia to interact to give it a physical dimension, the soul of the entity in interaction with the fields of the earth in the upper atmosphere and the fields of interaction of the sun creates a new life. In a way, as I said before, maybe for the first time you understand, we are the bottom eaters of the atmospheric condition. As we see when a body sinks in the oceans, lands in the bottom, there are scavengers, there are bottom eaters, which take benefit from what falls. And there is nothing below us on the ground. So whatever falls from the top as the energy fields, we take, we breathe. Maybe it becomes part of our life as it sticks to the environment to become existence for us. We are the bottom eaters of the top. And in a very near future, we will show this. Because even those lives on the upper level have a limitation of interaction of the fields. And if they change, they lose the dimension of the field strength, they become closer to the earth and they take shapes of the physicality. They take and they become what to be. This is very heavy for a lot of you to understand, but this is the truth. The way we shower the bottom of the seas with the remnants of the body of the animals or whatever which the bottom eaters eat, we ourselves are the bottom eaters of the life above us. But they live in the dimension of no physicality and just but fields. In a coming time, when we go into space in the dimension of the plasmatic fields, in the collective interaction, we will get to know these animals. We say we have so many hundreds or thousands, 1,500 creatures on this planet, and so many thousands in the oceans. Now we come to understand about the life above us, which is in more dimensions and diversity that we didn't know. We open the eye to the existence of the interaction of the fields of the environment and the soul created from their interaction, which creates life. If Rick can go into the videos of archives of the Keshe Foundation, which we have, or on the internet, we see NASA reports these objects flying. This is not theory, this is the fact. But now, for the first time, we can put meaning in a correct way. Then it comes the fundamental point that last week we touched on it. The hormones, the interaction of the field of the physicality of the man in nearness to the source gives us what we call the hormones, which we explained in the center of the body of the man with the glands, which is the conversion of the field interaction between the two. This is where the hormones are created. In so many ways, mankind has come to understand in the interaction of the soul of the man with the containment of the soul of physicality, magnetic field we call blood circulation, mankind to benefit from the existence of the presence of the what we call the soul, he has created substations near it as glands to convert these energies when it comes to the physical dimension. Mankind speaks about the position of the gland in front of the head. This exists because this is the interaction of the fields of the soul of the man with the outside environment. Some people, they have given different names to this, but in fact, the way the planet, the body of the man interacts with the physical side through the glands to the conversion of what we call the hormones, the same thing happens with the outside dimension, with what we call other souls. This is a substation that can, in a way, be more powerful than the inner from other glands that allows, and this is where we get our what we call interaction of and the vision and the hearing of in conjunction in passing through. And in this process, what we see the body of the man in all of us has created itself a new way that most of us have not been aware of. But in the process of the completion of life, this process led to the creation of a brain, which in two halves, creating yin and yang, balance between the two parts of the soul of the body of the man, leads to the left and right brain. And in conjunction with the matter state balance of the physical body of the man, the copper, as we explained in the past teachings, brings this process of creation of the physical left and right, where it has to stay in balance. But there is another dimension to this, that in controlling the physical life, the brain of the man has played a purifying game. What has happened is that the soul of the man in the center, in conjunction with what we call the glands, in interaction with the blood circulation, in the fields, in coming in touch with each other, and with the glands at the field strength of themselves, creating fields. That's what actually the glands do. And in that process, different dimension of the fields on the bottom part leads to the creation of the physical life. But in the brain of the man, the same game played, where in the interaction of physical parts, we have the liver and the kidneys and the lungs and everything else positioned to be able to interact with gravitational magnetic field of the earth. On the other side, the same shape comes to operation, where the specific position is the place for a speech, a special position is for happiness, a special position is for emotion and different things. The same way as we have a structure in interaction with the physical life, with the earth, the interaction between the soul of physicality and the soul of the man leads to the construction of what we call physical dimension control, where at the end of it, the two agree that we let the physical life part of the brain to stand outside, that it can have a control system. This is why when we look at the body of the man, when we see, like people in a stroke, the field strength in the middle part of the brain becomes your shoulder and upper part. The upper arm to your elbow becomes this part of the brain. And in that operation, we see, for example, the appearance by your ear, the fingers control hand and the lower. The same position is with your legs, the upper leg, which is here, and then the shin. And there's a specific point in the body of the man, which is in charge for and only of what we call femur. And then you have what you have as lower arm and lower foot and the toes and the feet. Now we understand the full process. And then we see how these interact, and in the interaction of the fields ingoing and outgoing, every emotion of the man is recorded. A man who has a ILS, by the wish of the feel of the soul of the man and soul of physicality, decides no more walking. I want this section to be dismantled. And when this section is dismantled, then the body has an energetic field which cannot handle, and that energetic field, even the heart beats, the body dies. This is why the emotion and interaction of his field with the soul of the man leads to what we call death, because the soul of physicality has pre-agreed the condition with the soul of the man that this guy doesn't want to have the use of his arms and legs, so we disconnect it. And it takes time to disconnect. And that's what we see. People with ILS, with MS, go through paralysis. And then they die, because even the heartbeats, the physical connection has been disconnected. And this is why it's very hard to reverse it, because you have to be a master to realign all these at the boundary inside. This is why we have seen the success with the use of what we call external energy field forces, which can create these secondary fields in a false condition, not in what we call as to be there, but there is no physicality. And then if you succeed, physicality takes shape. This is why in the coming time, when we say if they take your kidney out, we can produce it, because your kidney has created a gravitational magnetic field in its position of creation. All we need is to create that field in this environment, and the kidney will manifest itself, because its position of field strength sits there. It's not no more magic. It's no more hidden, what we call information. We have deciphered the secret of life. We have deciphered that the mankind will see the totality of the strength of field of its existence. You do not need to go through kidney transplant anymore, if you understand, to have your kidney operating. You need to create a field that allows the kidney to restructure itself to its original position. There is no need for dialysis machines. This is why when you go for the cups of life for diabetic, we tell you to wash your kidney, because the kidney condition in interaction with the hormones from the brain in a condition of psychosomatic creates the structure of the kidney to change, that creates the condition of diabetic. This is why many of you, when you take the cups or when you make the, what we call, you follow the procedure for the diabetic, you say it doesn't work. You miss two things. First of all, you missed to cover your kidney and the liver area with the ganses back and the front, that you bring the balance back to it without this cleaning up, without repairing the kidney. As I said, it's like a car which continues to have an accident and you keep on repairing the body, but you never change the brakes, which is not working and hitting you, letting you smash your car here and there. Then we understand the process. Then we come to understand the totality of the creation. Why do we tell you to breathe? Because you have to bring the agreement of the, what we call the gaseous part, which is controlled by the emotion of the interaction of the field of the lung and the soul of the man, in order and balance with the physicality which you repair the kidney. Otherwise, you're still limping. You haven't done the sort of job. You put the pad on, but you forgot to put the pin in that the brake works. This is why in all dimensions, all of you when you use the cups, oh, I'm drinking 3 times a day. You can drink 200 times a day. What about the emotion side? What about the gaseous side? What about the physical side, which you have to put on top of it? The liquid you drink covers the fluid side. The material you put on your kidney covers the physical side. But what happens to the gaseous part if you don't breathe? You're still limping. And then all of you have the same problem continuously. It works, but sometimes works. Because, my dear, can you tow a car when you haven't connected the tow rope? You can have the most powerful engine with a tow rope hanging on the floor. When you don't connect it on to the car you want to tow, where is your amino acid? The tow line is not there. The tow rope is not connected. Then you come to the position of another tow rope. You put the tow rope up. Now you have to put the lights, that the light in the back of the tow car shows somebody is towing and is comfortable and safe. Where is your connection with the emotion of the man, which is the zinc? You have to connect both tow bars that you can pull and you can keep safe. And none of you follow the procedure. 1 or 2 people understood, like Dr. Rodriguez, and they disappeared. Because all of you have to understand this. Because it's not a magic, it's an understanding of the totality. Because the doctors understand, and they understand, appreciate the essence of creation, like Dr. Rodriguez. They see right through. Then all these brings question mark. I have these, but like physicians, why can't I help everyone and some? Because then you have to extend the condition of understanding of which part of the emotion with the direction of physicality, with the essence of the soul of physicality, and the soul of the man brings these positions. This is why many of the physicians who join the Keshe Foundation get frustrated, because they cannot see the whole picture, because their knowledge is not complete. Is not to be the physician anymore of the physical life. The present and the cycle of the physicians we start training have to understand the totality of the creation. Interaction of the fields in the fields of the gaseous side. Interaction of the fields in the dimension of the liquid side. Interaction of the fields in the dimension of physical life. And then interaction of the what we call the emotion, which created from the totality of the fields of the tree in interaction with the field of the soul of the man. And in fact, if the soul of the man did not have all the characteristics which is within the physical brain of the man as emotion, how could it understand and control? And then we understand why in a physical life, something very precious. And that is when the soul of the man creates an emotion and the fields, which in interaction with the field of the soul of physicality, we see manifestation of the position, which means this is the where I feel joy. So if that's the case within the soul of the man, there is an essence and emotion of joy that in a given field of strength, in a given position and structure of the man, in the brain of every man, leads to the position of the creation of the combination of the matter state of the GANs in the different strength and combination, a position where magnetic fields created that creates the emotion of the happiness, for example, that both the soul of physicality and the soul of the man agree with. Then we see why, as I said, the brain of the man has very much structure like the physicality of the man, the liver, the kidney, and everything else. And we call it the happiness, the sadness, and every other emotion. The fallacy in the present world of science, they say only the brain, maximum brain used by the man is an intelligent man, and he uses maybe 10%, 15% of it. Now the 85% is not used. What a fallacy. Is it true when you're not using your finger, the rest of the body is dead? Is it true when you're not using your leg to walk, the arms and the intestine and everything else is dead? Or are they functioning in the background to make sure that the leg, the blood is there, everything else is there, that the walk can happen by the leg? So we understand for the first time, the brain of the man is on work 24 hours a day, not only used for the part which man sees as his intelligence. In a way, the structure of the brain of the man is set as a vast memory computer system that it knows continuously on its work 24 hours a day, which cell needs to be changed in the physicality, when is the time for the blood cell to change, when is the time to change a bone cell somewhere, when is the time to change the kidney cell somewhere. So those who tell you that the brain of the man is only used by 15% is those who actually believed the earth is the center of the universe. In fact, just because we don't see using it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. If there was any part of the brain of the man which the interaction of the fields of the soul of the man, the soul of physicality of the man would not interact to give existence to it, it would have not been there. It would have been empty gas, empty space in the brain cell. In a coming time, we explain in a very detail why even what you see in the brain of the man, for example, when we look, we see shapes like this. And we look at everything else in two sides of the brain. One of the most important structure in the physical structure of the brain of the man, inside the skull of the man, are these gaps. They are more important in some cases than the physical matter. When you look at so many brain X-rays or MRIs, you will see the beauty of these gaps. You can see and decide on the intelligence by the gap created among the cell, among the structure. If you looked at as many X-rays and MRIs as I have done with the people with MS, people with the fibromyalgia, people with ALS, people with depression, you see the shape of these gaps, the shape of the brain changes as they recover. Because these are the space gaps, these are the gaps between the earth and the moon, these are the gaps between the sun and the earth, which dictates the behavior of the earth. What earth produces. And these gaps in the world of science is totally ignored up to now, and it cannot do so. When you look at an X-ray, when you look at MRI of a brain, to me, I always look at these gaps of structure. Where is closer, where is separate, how is shaped in the brain. Then, because of the gap, you understand if you have a Venus, you have an Earth, or you have an operation of Jupiter. This is what the man of the science of tomorrow has to learn. about the position of the fields, because the brain of the man is made of magnetic fields, what we call the gases, of combination of the carbon, CO2, magnesium, zinc, and some other materials. And if we get one little field strength of, for example, as we said, sulfur in the dimension of the position of one gland, leads to control of everything to do with a structure. It changes the fields which the hormone creates, because it's the immediate substation next to the sun, to the solar. As I said, in the coming time, I might return to Tehran in a very short time, by setting up the collaboration with the University of the Iran National Defense University, will train the doctors to become the man of space. Because in space, the shape of these brains will not have a carbon or CO2, or we will not have the zinc. It'll have the combination of the field strength of the environment, and it could be made of any material. But the interaction of the field of that material with the dimension of physicality will tell a physician from Earth having a physical body from another corner of the universe, how can I deal with him? How can I help him? How can I change his life? Because now I understand the totality process of the creation. When you're an Indian doctor sitting in the office in New York, does not matter to you if a red Indian comes in, a black man comes in, or redneck comes in, or a white man comes in. It's all the same, because he understood the physicality and the physiology of the body of the man, that everything where it is and how it works. Now, the next generation of the scientists and the doctors of the man, we call them, in space, we look, because he had understood the totality of the creation, what does field, where is in the center, what's the strength of the soul, and what is the strength of the physicality, in respect that he is on this planet or another position in the space, will give me that I can repair the emotion of happiness for him at this point. When you have an overall view of understanding of totality, then it becomes very easy to be able to be the physician of the universe and not the physician of the man. In understanding, in comprehending the process of the creation, mankind has become wise to totality of many. For the first time, we show in the coming time how we create physical life from interaction of the souls, not from the interaction of the sperms and the egg, that it leads to creation of physical life in any dominion. In so many ways, mankind in a physical dimension would not have what I call children in a space, because in space, the physical structure of the amino acid of the man, which created the soul of the man, has a different combination in physicality than the others, and what we call intermarriage will become in the physical dimension some of the impossibilities. But if you can work into the strength of the soul, you can create the strength of the soul dimension that it decides and creates its own manifestation in the environment of the womb of the environment, be it the womb of the mother, be it the womb of the center of galaxy, be it the womb of the center of the universe, or somewhere in between the universe. At the moment, if you're born in air, you get the United Nations passport because you have no nationality. What happens when you're born in the gap space between the universes? Which universe do you belong to, and what combination do you get? Because then you have the collection fields of the whole combination of fields of the universe. Mankind has to open its eyes to the fact that through these teachings, we raise your horizon of understanding beyond the point of your imagination of today. But the reality cannot be ignored. You cannot shoot the messenger because you don't like the message because it doesn't fit into your program. The message is on the table. It's for you to understand it, to comprehend it, and if need be, to develop it to become the next step. In a coming time, in collaboration between different nations in Iran, in Beijing, in Washington, in New York, or in London, or in Paris, the scientists will work to decipher the process of the creation. All these scientists will put in behind the computers to design the killing machines. They'll be given the opportunity to find the secret of life, to create the machines to travel the span of the universe through the process of understanding the operation of the soul. We have educated them. Now we have to change the machine, that they change the tools of war to peace and to everlasting. From now on, as I said before, the race and the position and the prestige of a nation will come not by the bank reserves and by killing machines you have, but by the knowledge you have added to the knowledge of humanity in conquering the universe, by learning and giving it freely as fast as we can. We have called it Bitcoin. Now we call it BitBrain, Bit Travel Space, that collectively we all mine into the knowledge of the universe. Collectively we add into the totality of the knowledge of the creation. Man will get so busy in adding that we will not have time to think of war. You'll see the beauty in the creation of peace and knowledge than creating wars. In the upcoming talks between the world leaders, there would not be the discussion who leads in the military and in commerce, but who leads in the knowledge, who's adding to the knowledge, who's increasing the knowledge of the man to go further in the depth of the knowledge of the Creator. In a position which will be announced very soon, will take the position to lead this direction, to lead mankind to the point to understand, first of all, to the interaction of its own physical life and dimension of the soul of the physicality. In a coming time, as we are developing systems in the research centers, we will not give birth to the physical life as opposed to give birth in the what we call delivery rooms of the hospitals of today. In the processes that now has started, and I was discussing with knowledge seekers yesterday, we transport the soul of the body of the man to the environment of the earth, and then the physicality which is established within the womb of the mother or the womb of universe will manifest itself as the beauty of the creation that I am present. In a coming time, as the evolution of the science comes about, the delivery of children in the delivery rooms becomes a historical point. That now, if you like, the same as we send you to the other side of the universe in UFOs, or you can travel with the soul of the man in any dimension, now the mothers have an option of creating, allowing the life to be created by transmutation of the soul of the child into the environment, and not in the dimension of physicality and with all the problems we have seen in death of the mother and the child during the delivery, in the formation of the brain and a long-lasting physical damage. These all become point of the past in the next few years. Keshe Foundation and its research centers have already processed and have started this process to deliver systems that we can transmute the dimension of the energy of the soul of the man in one point to another, that the soul of the child moves from the mother on the point of its what we call completion, and then it takes the shape of the physicality according to the wish of the soul itself and the fundamental appearance and the wish of the mother and the child and the father and the society. these are not fairy tales. We know the knowledge. We have access to the knowledge. And as we've shown you, the horizontal and the vertical and transportation, now we are working on the next step. But they come collectively together in one system sooner or later. The new vertical enhancement units, what we call the presence generation, is very different than what we showed originally 6 weeks ago. And the next generation, which will be able to elevate the soul of the child, the infant, from the soul of the mother's physicality, will be slightly more different, but more deeper, much stronger, more defined rituals. In so many ways, we used to give birth in the deserts on the sand. Now we have found a way to increase the rate of survival. We deliver them in the operating rooms of the polished hotels, or what are called human hotels, we call them hospitals. Now the man moves to the next generation. We deliver children in the environment where the soul of the man can exist and besides. This is why in the few past teachings I explained that in the coming time we place the vertical units inside the horizontal units, where the mother is in the horizontal, in the vertical, and we transfer the soul of the child in the horizontal environment, that we see the manifestation and delivery to the physical dimension. These are the truth about the development of the technology in coming time. This is the evolution in the science. This is understanding more the process of the creation. You will see radical systems which appear in coming weeks, months, from the Keshe Foundation, both in 2 or 3 nations at the same time. Upon my return to Iran at the back end of June, we will create the condition of the space centers which are devoted to serving humanity through elevation of the soul of the man. As we leave the physicality, as we teach to NASA and Russian Space Agency, as they like to have something to play with. The growth and the intellect of man today has reached the maturity of understanding the totality. And the only barrier for him is his pride and his arrogance and lack of understanding of totality. So many ways, mankind has entered the dimension of the creation and the creator. In so many ways, we cannot move backwards. The only choice is left to us is to move forward and then choose different ways to stay on this planet, to take the wings of the fields of the plasma of the universe and travel in the dimension of the soul, or take the dimension of the physicality of the man and travel with the UFOs or the car or a jet. They're all now in hand of man. I'd like to bicycle from Paris to Amsterdam. I'd like to take a flight. I'd like to go in a car, or I do a walk. Now we can add, I can go with UFO if you like to call it, or I travel with my soul. One, I'll be there immediately. The other ones, I have the others to enjoy. The other ones allows me to enjoy the physical scenery. Man now has the option, the new option to be able to. In so many ways, we have developed the knowledge of the creation, and we understand the love of the creator in creating such. It's us that has to understand the different colors, races, creeds in the universe as we have on this planet. We have to come to understand how they have become to be as they are, and how we can become and learn about them We learn about the Chinese cooking and the Italian pizza. Now we learn about different processes that different lives and creeds in the universe feed themselves. I don't like to see the separation due to lack of knowledge, but the separation through the powerlessness of knowing totality, that the choice become a right, not force becoming the pressure to accept. The world of science today has matured. And through the teachings of the Keshe Foundation in the past 8 years, we have matured to the point that we think many of our scientists have matured to that point, that they can lead us and not get frightened with the level of energy as a virus. The totality of the knowledge of today is deep. It's mankind who has to decide which part of the knowledge he likes to take. We are worried about clean water. We are worried about the atmosphere. We are worried about the cancer. We are worried about everything else because we have chosen the path of physicality. If you choose the path of the plasma, change in the fields, man will know that none of these will become a problem, not for his physical life, nor for the structure of his soul. In so many ways, mankind has entered a new era of the knowledge in extreme, era of understanding the totality of the creation, the era that man can decide on his own way and how to make, to manifest, and to operate. Mankind up to now on earth has lived a life very much like the communist times of 1960s in Russia, that everything was dictated and everybody had to follow. Now mankind has become free in knowledge, in understanding, and he decides how to live. We have freed ourselves from the restriction, what are called the straitjackets of leadership, but we don't lead ourselves to freedom out of the straitjackets of the physical life. And this is what is about to happen. This is where the change will come. This is why I said we are all messiahs, because we are the messiah of our own physicality and no one else. You are as a messiah for your physical life and soul, as I am for mine. You have no control over mine as much as I don't have yours. So there is no point for no one to call themselves a king. The only king which exists is the kingdom of God, the Creator. And that is all of us to be part of it. There shall be no king, and there shall be no rulers, as we rule ourselves through the correct conduct of the soul. As I said, Mitra is amongst us, and that process has started. And in that process, we understand the totality, the mother of creation, the mother of change, the mother of the new beginning. And in that process, no man can obstruct the process. And anyone touch or tries to stop the process will meet with his own match of his own conversion and diversion and demise. Every man has to be free. Every soul has to be free, but no soul can change the process of understanding and evolution in agreement of the souls, in collective evaluation and the collective elevation of the soul of the totality, not only of one man, but the community, the mankind, and the total elevation of the soul of the universe and the universe. This is how we have become the visible part of the universal community, as up to now we were the invisible part and dismissed, as we always chose the kingship, the killing and destruction of what we call creation of lives. The process of change is very subtle. And it's coming in steps by steps. In coming in process of understanding and creation of step by steps. And in that process, we shall see many changes. We shall see changes not only in the, what we call physical approach of the man to life, but in essence of the interaction of the life of the man with its others. We think about going to another nation. In a very short time, we think about thinking on another planet, another star. There is no limitation for us, as we don't need to wear any more spacesuits now that we understand the process of the creation and control of the soul of the man. In so many ways, we have come out of the straitjackets of the physical life to understand the process of totality of the creation. In so many ways, as I said, you have to choose. You have to understand the three levels of creation on this planet. And at any point, anywhere in the universe, one or two might not exist. But at the end, the interaction of the fields of the soul of the man with that entity will create a manifestation which befits the environment and the strength of the field in that environment. And if it manifests an attraction of the two, we shall see a different life. In the world of the creation, we interact in 4 levels. Plasma level, liquid, the solid and gaseous. There is a 5th level, which man is still blind to. And in the coming time, we open that door. When man matures a little bit more to understand it. In so many ways, the fields of the universe are not only there to create and interact, but they are there to be able to manifest on the totality of the creation. Mankind in a coming time will come to understand the process of creation. Mankind in a coming time will come to see by itself, not to do through the eye of visuality, but through the eye of the soul of the totality. In so many ways, we have become and we have taken shape in the dimension of the soul of man. In so many ways, mankind has started to live a 2-dimensional, 2 straight reaction with the totality of the creation. Mankind is with understanding of its own creation. Maybe one day we come to understand the total truth about our own lives and our own creation. Maybe one day mankind will become so intellectually wise that its wisdom will allow him to see a sprinkle of light from the true essence of the knowledge of the Creator, where the totality of the light of knowledge of the Creator will blind the man's soul that will not see, as he has not matured to that point to reach within the inner sanctum of the strength of his own soul. In the coming time, we change time and position, and in the coming time, we bring a new dimension. My wish is that somewhere in the coming time, enough men of knowledge and men of theology come to understand the truth that we abandon the dogmas of the science and religion and we all become one to understand the essence of the creation and the creator. I'll leave you today with these because I have opened a very deep knowledge which needs to be understood. Please try to listen to the best, at least 4 or 5 sessions, one after another, and start building the picture where we are taking them, where we are leading you to, and how we'll come to interact. We have to understand that the knowledge of the man, the essence of the life of the man, sits within the structure of the physicality of the man, within the interaction of his field with the soul of the man. We will not be here if there was no soul within the structure of our inner physical body. As there would have been no earth if there would have been no center to create fields to interact with the fields of the sun to manifest itself as earth. In a coming time, mankind will become very, very wise to part of the essence of the creation according to his own intent. But I hope and I wish mankind will not fall in the hand of the magicians of the space that they might call themselves prophets, as all the knowledge of creation is within the structure of the soul. It's for man to dig deep and deep into the soul's strength to understand the process of the creation and that. The deeper you dig, the more knowledge you gain from the process of creation. And then in one point or other, we will come to maturity. I would like to go to a break and then we come back and we take some questions. Today's teaching will finish at 12 o'clock sharp Central European time as we teaching is short today. And remember that the next teaching, next Thursday, is at 7 p.m. Central European time and not at the usual 9 a.m. Central European time. And then thereon, the teaching will go off air, the television center,